Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into the intricacies of human behavior through the lens of cultural disparity with the book Beyond Culture, written by the illustrious American anthropologist Edward Hall. Published in 1976, Beyond Culture offers a profound examination of the myriad ways in which cultures diverge, from their methods of conflict resolution to their perceptions of time. The book encourages us to step outside the boundaries of our own cultural norms to gain a deeper understanding of the diverse world around us. Edward Hall, who passed away in 2009, was a pioneer in the field of cross-cultural research. With a PhD from Columbia University, his extensive research took him throughout Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Beyond Culture is just one of the many impactful books he authored, cementing his legacy as a key figure in the realm of culture and communication. This episode is crafted for those who harbor a fascination with the role of culture in shaping human behavior. It will resonate with travelers and explorers seeking knowledge on the subtle complexities of cultural interactions, as well as students and enthusiasts eager to steep themselves in the legacy of Edward Hall, one of anthropology's most celebrated scholars. Join us as we explore the depths of cultural understanding and awareness in Beyond Culture. Beyond Culture, a journey of self-discovery. Introduction. Navigating the cultural labyrinth, understanding and transcending our invisible divides. Imagine a world where borders cease to exist, where the farthest corners intertwine within the delicate web of modern technology. This is our reality, where diverse individuals from every continent could become neighbors and messages cross oceans in a heartbeat. Yet despite these remarkable connections, one invisible yet formidable boundary persists: culture. This narrative takes you on a voyage through the intricate layers of cultural understanding. You'll discover why, amidst an era where physical and technological limits have been surpassed, cultural distinctions continue to shape, separate, and sometimes mystify us. As we unpack the cultural conundrums that govern our behaviors and thought processes, you'll capture insights on how to identify and ultimately surmount the cultural constraints that cloud our interactions. Prepare to shed the veil of cultural narrow-mindedness and step into a realm where differences become a bridge rather than a barricade. Ready to broaden your horizons? Let's explore how to think beyond our cultural programming, understand why time runs at a different pace for your colleagues around the globe, and unravel the reasons behind why some indigenous societies view mainstream education with skepticism. Engage with a world waiting to be understood as we traverse the landscape of cultural diversity and discover how to live harmoniously within it. Part 1. Unlocking the Code of Culture, Language, Habits, and the Fabric of Our Being. Every step we take, every gesture we make, our very perception of the world, is sculpted by the cultural landscape we inhabit. Culture, a complex tapestry of ideals, practices, and social codes, exerts its influence from the moment we draw our first breath. It molds our actions, filters our thoughts, and crafts the narrative of who we are. Consider the way culture programs us, much like a software running silently in the background, shaping our interactions into a series of cultural rituals that we perform almost without thought. Across the globe, these rituals, such as the nuanced dance of a greeting, differ widely. The Japanese may bow with deference while Inuits exchange a tender nose rub, both communicating the same intentions in their respective worlds, respect and gratitude. But beyond mannerisms, the spoken word stands as one of culture's most pervasive guides. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis posits that language doesn't just express our thoughts, it shapes them. Language colors our reality, influencing and revealing our most subtle cognitive processes. In English, saying, "It rained yesterday," could mean a myriad of things. You might have been drenched in the deluge, maybe you just saw the aftermath, Or perhaps you're simply passing along second-hand weather tales. But for the Hopi people, this ambiguity is stripped away through their language's refined verbs, which deftly weave in the context behind every assertion. As we navigate the everyday, we often overlook how deeply our cultural roots are intertwined with the very essence of our being, from the innumerable, perhaps imperceptibly reflexive actions we perform to the words that dance on the tip of our tongues, guiding us through a myriad of perceptions and a world full of diverse ways of being. Part 2. The Rhythms of Rituals. Cultural Choreography in Daily Life. Every day, you partake in a dance that's been choreographed by your culture, and much of the time, you're not even aware that you're moving to a silent tune. Conversations, particularly the charming exchange of small talk, are but one of many routines deeply ingrained into the cultural fabric. These rituals surround us like familiar music, from the casual "How are you?" bantered about with acquaintances, to the intricate steps of courtship observed in the hallowed quiet of a library. The latter might begin with a strategic seating arrangement, followed by an innocuous question, and gradually escalate to a more meaningful dialogue. It's a patterned performance, a duel of sorts, yet here with words rather than swords. This symphony of social behavior is not universal. It varies dramatically across cultures. Take dispute resolution as an intricate ballet. In English-speaking nations, the play might unfold with diplomatic subtlety, proceeding through a series of overtures before elevating to a direct encounter or even a legal procedural. Contrast that with the more direct approach preferred in Latin American or Mediterranean societies. Here, the tension of a dispute is a tightly drawn bow, releasing only when necessity forces a direct confrontation. The goal is often to sidestep the spiral of vendetta, a fearsome cycle of retaliation that could be sparked by two hastily drawn lines in the sand. Thus, as you glide through your day, be it brokering peace, purchasing provisions, or pursuing passion, you're performing cultural compositions without even realizing it, each with its own distinct rhythm and rules. These routines are the unstated, often unconscious scripts guiding our daily interactions, etched into our subconscious by the culture that cradles us. Part 3. Speaking in Cultural Codes. Deciphering the Varieties of Global Communication. You're in a conference room, surrounded by colleagues from diverse backgrounds, attempting to navigate the murky waters of event planning, but the dialogue feels akin to fitting together puzzle pieces from different sets. Herein lies the complexity. Varied cultural backgrounds foster distinct communication styles. Some are straightforward, others are nuanced, but all are deeply rooted in the cultural soil from which they sprang. Picture communication as a spectrum. On one end, cultures like Germany and Switzerland, along with the Scandinavian countries, and to some degree the United States, stand out for their explicit communication. Directness is key, and words are the trusted vehicles for transmitting messages. Yet, this method, steeped in clarity, comes at a cost. Messages become lengthy manuscripts needing every detail etched in verbal form just to ensure understanding. Traveling on this spectrum, we encounter cultures that lean towards implicit communication, where the unspoken holds as much weight as the vocalized. Here you'll find Asian societies attentive to the subtleties in tone, the stories told by the eyes or hands, and the powerful silence that can hold more meaning than a flurry of words. This style lets communities race through interactions, as spoken words can take a back seat to the myriad other cues. But, as with anything in life, there's a balance to be struck. Explicit communication, though methodical, allows you to rewrite the script seamlessly. Think of it as a software update, refreshing the system with a few new lines. Implicit communication, with its reliance on historical gestures and shared understandings, fares less flexibly, moving as swiftly as a glacier when it comes to adopting new meanings. Consider if a culture is a long-standing citadel, barely touched by time. The occupants have likely honed their implicit signals to perfection. accelerating day-to-day exchanges. Yet if the cultural landscape is shifting like dunes in the desert, it's the explicit communicators who find their footing, adapting swiftly to the mutable terrain beneath them. Part 4. The Cultural Compass, from Steps to Seconds. Your stride, your gestures, the very pace of your life may seem self-chosen, but what you may not realize is that these are deeply influenced by the culture woven into your identity. The diversity of human expression not only encompasses speech, but also extends to physical movement. The way people sit, stand, walk, and dance is a silent symphony, with each culture curating its own distinct performance. Envision a street, bustling and brimming with life. Two groups of people, white Americans in Arizona and Pueblo Indians in New Mexico, navigating the same space with 15 distinctive differences in their walks. It's a mesmerizing sight, capturing a fundamental truth. Culture is in constant motion, through our words, through our bodies. Now, shift your gaze from the physical to the conceptual, to the idea of time. It's a cultural construct as well, an entity we perceive and employ differently across the globe. Think about time as a vast ocean. Some cultures navigate its waves with the precision of ancient mariners, while others glide on its surface with an air of serendipity. For those in the straight, forward-marching lanes of Northern Europe and North America, time is as much a resource as any tangible asset, to be allocated, divided, and exhausted. Deadlines are enshrined, schedules sanctified. But travel to the warm, sea-breeze-kissed spaces of the Middle East and Latin America, and you'll find time bending to the moment's whims. Here, the present is a canvas, and priorities dance to the beat of now. This variance in the perception and handling of time can clarify the chasm in cultural attitudes towards punctuality. A postponed meeting isn't just about the time. It's about what that time represents, and in places where today's tide is the master, flexibility is afforded. But where time is rail-tracked and parceled, last-minute changes are akin to derailments. So, whether your steps echo the rhythm of your heritage or your hours are heirs to cultural perspectives, time and motion serve as cartographers charting the invisible maps of our cultural landscapes. Part 5. Through Cultural Lenses, Misperceptions and Misunderstandings. It's a common human folly to assume that the world around us is seen through the same cultural lens that shapes our own perceptions. That's why misunderstandings between cultures are not just common, they're expected. What constitutes appropriate behavior varies widely and can be a breeding ground for cultural faux pas. Take, for instance, the experience of staying in a Japanese hotel. If the need arises, it is customary for the hotel staff to relocate guests' belongings to another room, a move aimed to optimize hospitality for everyone. This practice, seen through the eyes of Japanese culture, is a mark of proactive service and inclusion. However, for Westerners, whose cultural standards hinge on personal space and ownership, such unsolicited intervention is not just startling, it's often perceived as a breach of privacy and respect. Zooming out from hotel hallways to institutional hallways, let's ponder the realm of education. The teaching styles and the very purpose of education pivot largely on cultural axes. In the West, education is a competitive sprint towards employability, complete with metrics, exams, and accolades that reward the best performers. In stark contrast, the Pueblo Indians employ a more fluid and organic educational approach. Knowledge is not compartmentalized for evaluation, but shared and absorbed through interaction with peers and elders. It's a communal journey rather than an individual race, with the pace set by life itself rather than by external expectations. Herein lies a profound divergence in perspectives. To the Pueblo Indians, the Western model feels like a straitjacket on youth, an imposition that's more damaging than beneficial. Meanwhile, Western society upholds its structured educational framework as the key to future success. As the globe turns, so do the myriad cultural narratives that shape how we see the world. Recognizing that each of us watches through a different set of cultural lenses is the first step towards understanding and empathizing with practices that, while foreign to us, are perfectly normal and valued in another cultural context. Part 6. Embracing Cultural Fluency, the Journey to Global Understanding. In a world where borders blur and distances shrink, encountering someone from a different cultural fabric is the norm rather than the exception. This burgeoning interconnectivity elevates cultural comprehension from a virtue to a necessity. But grasping the vast intricacies of foreign cultures is much more than casual learning. It's a dive into history, society, and the subtleties of human interactions. Fathom, for a moment, the cultural tapestry of Japan. Here, conversation is an art of gradients, with shades of politeness intricately linked to social hierarchies. To engage seamlessly, one must juggle varying levels of respect, mirroring the complex interplay of relationships and status, a vestige of Japan's feudal past, where one's words had to match their rung on the social ladder. Recognizing the deep imprint of culture on our perceptions is key. Our innate cultural lens can sometimes cloud our vision, presenting our societal norms as the universal blueprint. But this is a misconception, a cognitive mirage that we must strive to see beyond. To truly understand another, we must first understand ourselves, dissecting even our most fundamental beliefs. The West, for example, prizes individuality and competition, encouraging each person to carve their distinct path. But in other parts of the world, conformity and community reign, nurturing harmony over highlighting differences. How, then, do you wander beyond the edges of your cultural horizon? The answer lies in engagement, in the tangible interactions with those of varied cultural lineages. Through each conversation, shared meal, or joint endeavor, your cultural acumen deepens, and you begin to view the world through a kaleidoscope of perspectives. This endeavor, albeit complex and demanding, is immensely rewarding. It's not merely about broadening your cognitive map. It's about enriching your human experience, building bridges where walls might have stood, and partaking in the collective narrative of humanity's diverse yet interwoven existence. Final summary. Culture is an invisible architect, shaping everything from our speech to our stride, carving out patterns in the way we solve disputes and sculpting our personal perceptions of time itself. These differences, often overlooked as just the way things are the finely spun threads that weave the complex tapestry of human diversity. To journey into the heart of another culture is to embark on a voyage of discovery, where every interaction serves as a compass, pointing towards deeper understanding. It is through engagement, through the meeting of minds and melding of customs, that we come to appreciate the nuances that make us distinct yet interconnected. In this grand cultural narrative, every step taken to understand another way of life is a step toward a more cohesive, empathetic global community. By embracing the myriad ways in which we all uniquely experience and interpret our world, we enable ourselves to engage richly and authentically with people from all horizons. This is the essence of our final insight. Cultural fluency is the bridge that unites us, an invaluable currency in an intricately connected world. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.